My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 353 of Legally Clueless, and this is what's coming up.
There's a whole lot of people telling me congratulations. I just wasn't feeling it. This was my first pregnancy. I am feeling like it's too much. I just was not feeling the joy that a mother has when they birth. It actually took me 3 days to go and visit my son in the NICU. I had to keep expressing milk for him. His doctor had totally refused to put him on formula. I had to take milk every day to hospital. So leave my house, go to hospital, take care of the baby. There's something called kangarooing. So it was quite a troubling time in those 35 days. Sometimes I used to refuse to leave the hospital because I used to go at midday. Sometimes I'd find him with a blocked nose, with mucus in his nose, a wet diaper. So I'm like, why am I leaving my child to these people? Yet I'm finding my baby not fully catered to. This whole thing for when are you getting the next baby was really in our heads, and people kept asking us. You don't even know what we went through. You don't know if we've healed. You don't ask questions. You're just asking about the next thing.
That is part 2 of Ciru's story. We're about to jump right into it. But before we do, thank you for being part of this family. And if you are a newbie here, first and foremost, you may want to listen to part 1 of Ciru's story because that's a good place to start. But secondly, welcome to the family. Audio episodes of this show go out every single Monday. On Wednesdays, we have the midweek teas where I talk about different topics that I think can help you along your healing journey. On Thursdays, we have For Mannerless Women. We've just kicked off season 3. And on Fridays, we have Ask a Therapist. Make sure you also sign up for our newsletter. It goes out every single Wednesday. Just go to our website, legallycluelessafrica.com. Lastly, remember that you can connect with us on Insta and TikTok and subscribe to our YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. So today we're diving into part 2 of Ciru's story. And if you listened to part 1 last week, you know just how intense and emotional her pregnancy journey became, right? And so in this second part, Ciru is going to weave us through what happened during her surgery, which is quite interesting. I haven't heard many stories where people talk about the actual surgery and what came after that and how difficult the entire pregnancy experience was. This part of her story is raw. It's so real, and it's just filled with the kind of honesty that so many women rarely get spaces to express. So let's get into it. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
But when he was cutting me open, I could feel the movement through my belly. And I think that got me into shock. I was not in any pain, but it just got me into some shock that I was like, oh my God, this is actually really happening. So I think at that point is when I just zoned out. And I don't know if I blacked out or I was just in the room, not aware. I don't know. So they got the baby out, and luckily he was saved. And the procedure went on well. But I don't remember hearing that baby crying. And that is a worry for every mother. But I think it's because I was in the zone. Like I was just zoned out. Yeah. But the doctor assured me the baby is okay. We just need to put him in the incubator. Because at 29 weeks, he's not fully grown. Yeah. So oxygen, whatnot. Which was quite, it's not anything I would wish on anyone, because at that point you really don't know if the baby is actually going to survive even after being put in. So from there, I have no memory after that until I go to my ward, and there's a whole lot of people telling me congratulations, blah blah blah, and I just wasn't feeling it. This was my first pregnancy. I am feeling like it's too much. I just was not feeling the joy that a mother has when they birth. So it actually took me 3 days to go and visit my son in the NICU. NICU is the area where the kids are put, the nursery for the premature babies. So it took me 3 days because I was just not mentally ready to go and see what the doctor got out. Because I'd been given a report of the baby. The baby was 1.2 kilograms. And I'm like, how am I going to survive seeing my son in that state? So the nurses at Nairobi Hospital were very friendly, encouraged me every other day, just go and see the baby, just go and see the baby. You might feel better. Your milk might finally flow, because my milk had not really calmed down. So on the third day, I just decided, what's the worst that could happen? Let me just go and see this boy. So I thought I would break down. I would be hurt. I would be questioning. I'd be all of this. But when I got there, I looked at him and I was just like, wow. Wow. Like, they can actually be this small, because I had never, ever seen a premature child. So at that point, I think I was still numb, because I couldn't even hold him because of the whole incubator situation. There are pipes running through different parts of his body, and he's getting some treatment for his eyes. So it was a whole lot of things going on, and the fact that I couldn't hold him then was just sad. Like, I felt like I went for nothing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so went back to my room and I was just thinking, why? Why me? Why do I have to deal with this? Because this meant the child will be in hospital for long. The doctor had told me they can't discharge him until he's about 2 kilograms, 2.5, because then he can now start, he will be fully developed then. So that was heavy on us, because this is something we didn't anticipate, and we just thank God for a good doctor, because we'd have probably lost the child. I would probably also not be here if action was not taken quickly. And I don't know, I just feel this societal pressure of being asked, when are you getting your child? When is the next baby? Because after this baby, there was the question of, when are you getting the next one? And I'm like, yo, guys, you need to stop. People don't actually know anything that people go through to get kids. So for a while, this is around COVID time, which worked for us because I was not in the mood of getting visitors at all. And even the doctor had told us, you have to keep this child away from visitors for a year. And we're in African culture where women, your mother's friends, want to come and see and make sure that you actually give birth. Oh Lord. So COVID worked perfectly for our son, because we really had to shield him because of his immunity. But before we got home, we stayed in hospital for a whole month. He had to stay in. I was discharged on day 5. But he had to stay in for 30 days. 35 days, because really we were discharged just about Easter. He's born in March. So in the 30 days, this was the time, the true test was during this period, because I had to keep expressing milk for him. His doctor had totally refused to put him on formula. Mother's milk is actually the best for such kids when they're developing. So that's what helped him get out of hospital faster because he was gaining weight, etc., etc. But the journey in the 30 days was quite hectic because I had to take milk every day to hospital. So leave my house, go to hospital, take care of the baby. There's something called kangarooing. Kangarooing is when you put the baby, on your chest and it's skin to skin kind of healing. What do I call it? Yeah, it's like a bonding session, which helps the kids get out of this funk they're in. And they just develop faster and they gain the weight because you get to feed them yourself. So it was quite a troubling time in those 35 days because sometimes I used to refuse to leave the hospital because in the morning I used to go at midday. Sometimes I'd find him with a blocked nose, with mucus in his nose, a wet diaper. So I'm like, why am I leaving my child to these people? Yet I'm finding my baby not fully catered to, Like I wanted to be there to clean out his nose, change his diaper in time, feed him. But that was the best care he was getting then. I don't think would have done anything at home. If anything, it would have been a worse situation. So we soldiered on with the 35 days and we got discharged finally. And the journey really began at home because at home you don't have any help. There are no medics. You have to do everything yourself. The pressure is building. Then visitors want to come and see you and you have to say no. There was just too much going on. But as I said, COVID really came through. So work-wise, luckily I had a good boss. I had a very understanding boss. So where I was working, we get 3 months off maternity. I had over time told my boss that I'm getting complications from 26 weeks. I had started preparing him that I might go in anytime. And he was very understanding. And that was just, I think, a gift from heaven because it was a very tough time. So once the baby came, of course, they start counting the leave, the maternity leave from when they get the birth notification. Because it was COVID time and we were working from home, that kind of made it easy to negotiate more time outside because 35 days is a month. So I only have 2 months left to be with my newborn. So I talked to my boss and let him know if there's been a complication and whatnot. And to my surprise, he's like, it's okay, just take the time you need. So the first question I asked him, is this unpaid leave or am I still going to be on the payroll? So he says, it's okay. I will deal with HR. Don't worry about it. You will be on full pay. I was shocked because this is not normal for any employer to just extend grace to such a situation. So that's where I just forgot about it. I shelved that, my work worries, and it was back to catering to my child because this was a baby who needed attention round the clock, basically. Because this is a very fragile baby. We had cases of reflux. We are dealing with having to give him more vitamins. Like he was on medication until he was 2 because his vitamins were just low and whatnot. So 35 days in hospital is, I think, a book I should write because that is the most hectic time of childbearing. I used to commute from Thika Road to Nairobi Hospital every day because I had to kangaroo. I had to be shown how to wash the baby. I had to be told how to fill the baby with a syringe and a spoon because the kid is so small, can't breastfeed, can't latch on the breast. Like, it was so much work. So it took a lot of grace to just even keep doing this for this child, because at some point I was like, what if? So many what ifs were in my head, but I just had to keep pushing. My husband also was telling me, just keep pushing, I'll support you. Luckily, he was working right opposite the hospital at the time. So we decided to get a shift so that we don't get too exhausted doing these trips to the hospital. So in the morning, he'd take bags of milk, take them to the hospital as he sees his son. Then I'd check in like at midday. So we'd do shift. Yeah. So at midday, I'd stay there the whole day, like till 11 p.m. The nurses were kicking me out because I was so attached to this boy. Still am. He's a miracle baby. He really fought a good fight. Like, he really pushed on. He's a fighter for sure. Because being born at 1.2 kilograms is literally a packet of unga. Like, you can hold it in one hand. In fact, my husband was holding him in his hand. One hand. That's how small he was. Yeah, so this journey is just to really put it out there that women go through quite a lot. When you hear a woman saying they're pregnant, nowadays I just quiver because it could go anyway. It could be good, it could be bad. As in, you don't even know what direction it could take. Because up to 26 weeks, I was fine. Like, I had zero problems. I had no issue. I was like, this is the best pregnancy. I mean, is this what women go through? Then things just took a turn, and high blood pressure is something that is not discussed quite a lot. I don't hear it being discussed a lot about being a complication in pregnancy as much as it should. Because most people don't know they're actually going through it. Because you don't feel any kind of pain, any discomfort. Some get headaches, but you'd think it's just the kawaida headache. So preeclampsia is just horrible. It's something that should be discussed, and more women should be made aware of this thing because it's a killer. It is a killer. When it gets to eclampsia is what now it develops into. Women have died out of this, and it was just unfortunate that it was not picked early. So where I'm going with this is, after 5 years of possibly raising our son, trying to heal from all this trauma, we decided we think we're ready for a second one. For the longest time, I thought I would never get another child because I was not ready to go through all that again. So it was important for me to I felt it was important to get another doctor. Not to say that the first doctor was responsible for what happened, but I just needed a fresh start because I didn't want to go back to the same clinic. It's trauma, basically. I didn't want to go to the same clinic. I didn't want to go to the same hospital. I just wanted a fresh start if we're getting another child. So I got another doctor, gave the doctor my history, and immediately we decided to get this second baby. The doctor was very keen on treatment. So I was put on aspirin from week 6 till week 38. So what I'm just trying to say is that it's important to be aware that this thing could actually recur. And the more information you give your doctor, the better for treatment. This whole thing for when are you getting the next baby was really in our heads, and people kept asking us. And we really got to a point of ignoring these people, and we would just tell them God's timing is best. Because, I mean, you don't even know what we went through. You don't know if we've healed. You don't ask questions. You're just asking about the next thing. And I think it's a very bad culture that needs to just stop. Yeah. Because some people don't want kids. Others want 1 kid. Others want 10. Others want 2. So really, it's something that needs to be just taken with stride, because people are going through a lot, and especially now, like, mental health has become a thing. And this thing took a toll on me. I had to go in for therapy because I didn't know I was going through postpartum depression. I became very distant with people. Like, I was very irritated after a while. Like, I was just not the social butterfly that I am. I didn't want to engage with people. I just didn't want to do much. And I didn't know I was slowly getting into depression, slipping into depression, because this whole thing had taken a toll on me. So I go into therapy. I do it for 2 weeks. I feel like I'm getting better, and I stop going for therapy. But then there's this thing that just won't leave my head about this whole pregnancy journey. And so I pull back myself, and I'm just like, you know what? I just need to keep doing this therapy thing because it's bringing me back afloat, so that I can overcome this feeling that I'm feeling. And still, society is just punching back at us, really punching. And you know how people come to see the baby and they're like, Nakwani, you guys don't feed the child. Why is he so small bodied? They give random kind of comments, and you're just like, wow, you came to see the baby to give us this? Anyway, it got to a point where we were just not, we could hear people talk, but we were just like, we're the ones who know where we've come from. We're the ones who know what we've gone through. So let's just shut it down. Like, let's just ignore. Because for a while, my partner told me, don't feel the pressure to get another baby, because it's been 5 years. You need to take the time that you feel you need to heal. Because for sure, I'll just say it, that if the woman is not ready, then they're really not ready for another child. Yeah. So for us, it took us 5 years. We got our second baby. It's been an amazing journey. People should just do things at their own pace, how they feel comfortable, when they want to, because it's not a competition. It's not a must, actually, to make the society happy. Because there's this, I keep telling my husband that and mostly church women, I feel like they're so entitled to our wombs, because this question comes from such institutions: church, place of work, And you just don't understand where these people are coming from. But it's what they know from society, from how they were raised, how they were expected to do things at their time. So this whole thing should just be taken out of stride, because people are going through a lot, and the more people are aware about the situation on the ground is the more they'll be cautious with what they tell people out here. Because you could be asking someone who can't even conceive, when are we getting a baby? And I mean, it's just a really bad feeling. So yeah, now we have 2 gorgeous humans running in our house, and it's the most amazing feeling to just see and hear them, even just having conflict, because they're growing. We've been removed from the shackles, and our miracle baby is just, our first baby is just amazing. He's really come from far, and he's going places. There's a theory that premature kids are the most intelligent of them out here. We're slowly seeing this. We've had slow kind of milestone hitting, but when he hits them, he really hits them. So it's just a blessing to see that kids can actually grow and just become like independent. Because like right now, he's doing most of the things himself. We need to extend grace to everyone, because people are going through the most. People are just suffering in silence, trying to please the society. And at the end of it, we end up hurting ourselves. Let's do things when we're ready to do them. It's quite unfortunate that this sensitization is not out here in public for people to know, because even when it comes to just raising this kind of kids, the preemies, there's a lot that needs to be put in for the kids to be, quote unquote, to grow like the normal kids. Because even when it comes to milestones, they are slower at hitting their milestones. They will hit the milestones, but it will just take a longer time. I also feel there are less institutions that accommodate this kind of kids, because obviously if they're taking longer to hit milestones, they will take a bit of time to catch up with the rest of the class. There's need to create more safe spaces for these kids to learn, to grow, and just be nurtured like the other normal kids. Quote unquote is normal, because these kids are also still normal. It's just that they have slower milestones. There's need to just sensitize this, get this out here, and probably get spaces that can help these kids grow, great environment like the other kids do. So another thing that we are really not prepared for is the journey of pregnancy. For example, for my case, after the 26 weeks of an amazing journey, things just started going south, and body changes started happening. The swelling, the darkening of my body, the amount of pills I had to take just to keep the pressure down was also taking a toll on my health, I guess, on my body. So in as much as society is pushing us to populate the world, and I get it, because we need generations to continue, but we're just not enlightened about the journey of pregnancy, because a lot is happening. Swelling of feet should also not be just taken lightly, because you could be having a condition that you don't know about. That's water retention. So you could probably be having too much fluid. Apparently it even goes to the lungs if you get to eclampsia, because I was reading about it. It's important to just educate the women about the pregnancy journey, as well as we also push them to birth the future generations. Hubby during this period was on edge, if I can use that word, because for him, he has fear of losing more than one person. he was constantly just making sure we have the best care. We're doing the right thing at the right time. We're eating the right things. We're going for they're called prenatal clinics. I never went to hospital alone. He was there for all my clinics, which is amazing support because especially after the 26 weeks. 26 weeks is when we break down. After 26 weeks, it just became something else. And I feel that because I had his support, it was an easier burden to carry. But on his side, I feel that he just had a lot of hidden worry, but he just couldn't express it because he's supposed to be holding me down. Understandably, but also there should be a chance given to the men to just open up and release, be vulnerable, be emotional, give out your feelings, say what exactly it is, because it takes two to tango. I mean, we made this baby together, so his emotions are valid as well. During admission, I saw his emotions running through his face, especially when the nurses came in and just were giving the care that needs to be done. He was constantly there. He never walked out of the room. He was aware of everything that was being done. And because I know him, I could see that he's genuinely just worried and hoping for the best. And he kept saying, we have to get the both of you out. So that was amazing. Over time, we talked about it and he let it go. So it was a good time to actually know that he was okay sharing what he felt at the time, because even holding his own son in his hand, one hand, because he's a rugby bodied kind of person. So that was amazing to see that he was actually glad that his son made it out. And this is important for all fathers, to just be in touch with your emotions. Don't keep bottling them up, because at the end of it, we just don't know what will happen. Just let it go, let it out. You feel much better when you let it out. Talk about it.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. This is not only a powerful story, it's such a necessary one. All right, because a lot of times we don't hear the realness of what the pregnancy journey could potentially look like, and how insensitive the people who pressurize women to make that step. Yeah, just stop, please. I hope this story actually just makes you to rethink that entitlement that you have on another person's uterus. But a lot of things stayed with me from her story. The first is like, I hadn't really thought about it. The guilt and the numbness that many mothers feel after traumatic birth experiences. And I remember in Ciru's story where she says it took her 3 days to even face her son when he was in the ICU for babies, right? I feel like not many women share about it, or mothers share about it, because you feel ashamed for, as a mother, thinking that, or being too scared to see your child. But please, not to the mothers, but to the rest of us who can make spaces like these that are safe enough for mothers to be completely honest, we need to meet mothers with compassion and not judgment, right? The other thing that she talked about that I didn't really go into, or I've never really gone into, is just the emotional labor of caring for a premature baby. It is enormous, right? The daily drives to the hospital, expressing milk every day, kangaroo care. Like, hearing her say it, and I'm like, oh my God, daily facing that and not knowing, at the back of your mind, not knowing, is my baby going to be okay? That is hectic. Another thing that came out both in part 1 and part 2 for me is just like society's pressure for people to have kids is just loud and careless, I mean, even after fighting for her life and her baby's life, people immediately start asking, when is the next child? Isn't that crazy? Crazy insensitive, crazy harmful. please stop it. Preeclampsia. I just feel like we just need more visibility on this, right? It's dangerous, but it's also under discussed. So many women don't know the signs until it's too late. And also when we talk about fathers, right? And when she was talking about her husband and his anxieties around that. And when she was talking about like he's dealing with first the decision, like he is signing papers about who the doctors should save between your wife and your child. And then being faced with that possibility that you could lose both. Where? Hey, that is a lot. That is a lot. And so if you know a couple that are navigating this, don't forget to check in on the partner, on the father. Make sure they're not drowning in the anxiety around the matter. But those are just some of the things that stayed with me. I want to know what you connected with, what you learned from Ciru's 2-part story. Please drop it in the comment section. And if you're listening to this and you've gone through preeclampsia, premature birth, postpartum depression, fertility struggles, or even just the weight of societal pressure, please know your story really matters, and I hope Ciru's story affirmed you so you don't feel alone. And speaking of stories, if you want to share your story on this particular show, you're African, you have a story, we think it's valid, we want to hear it, sign up. Is that the right one? No, fill in our storyteller form. A link to it is in the show notes. Once you do, one of our correspondents will reach out to you. So please do that. Remember to sign up for our newsletter. Follow us on IG and TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube. All of the links are in the show notes. And last but not least, thank you so much for listening to this episode to the very end. As usual, I think that you have everything it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.